Well, I just want you to see your desk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Put that up here. All right. So we've been doing some reading, right?
Yeah.
What do you think of this book so far?
It's pretty good.
Pretty good. It has some interesting stuff in it, right?
It's kind of easy.
Good. I'm glad you think it's easy. You're a pretty good reader. So.
It's the second week.
Tell me about this last story that we just read. What'd you just read?
It's called A Dragon of Your Own, and it's about what care a bearded dragon needs.
Oh, what care, like,
how you care for it, and
how a person cares for it.
yes.
Okay. So not like one in the wild, but like somebody that would use it as a pet.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Did you find that interesting?
Yeah.
Nice. Now, were there any words in there that were a little bit tricky for you, like words that were unfamiliar? Required. Okay.
Happen a lot. It's just required.
Okay, good. You know, I did notice that in this story when I was reading it myself, that it had the author bolded some of the words that he thought maybe would be unfamiliar.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I thought would be really helpful, and that I've taught some of my other friends, is this thing called ideas. Have you ever read a word and not had any idea what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah. So guess what? I have a strategy for you.
Okay.
So what you can do is you can use that word. Look at that poster on the wall there. What word do you see going down the middle?
Ideas.
Ideas, right? So if you ever come across an unfamiliar word and you need an idea, if you need an idea of what that word would be, you can think, I need some ideas for what this word might be.
Okay.
Each letter in ideas stands for something. So the first one is inference. The second one, definition.
Example. Antonym.
Cinnamon. Cinnamon?
Sorry.
Yeah,
I don't know how to pronounce it, but I know the word.
it is tricky. It's synonym. Do you know what a synonym is?
It's either, I mixed them up, but I think it's opposite.
Okay, it's actually the same. And the way I remember,
Antonym
is opposite, synonym is same. Synonym starts with s, just like same does. Synonym, same. Okay, same meaning.
Okay.
So an author, a lot of times in a story, like the story we read, an author, a lot of times if he's putting an unfamiliar word in there, he or she will give you either an inference clue, or a definition clue, or an example clue, or an antonym clue, or a synonym clue. So let's take a quick look at inference. Maybe you could help me peel some of these off.
Okay.
So with inference, what does that say?
Use text clues to figure out the meaning.
Okay, so sometimes the author is just going to have you use some clues in the text to figure out the meaning.
Okay.
Okay? This will give you an example. Go ahead and peel that off. Here's an example of an inference. Read that out loud, nice and loud.
Mrs. Jones will want to help. She is very compassionate.
Compassionate. What do you think the word compassionate means?
Helpful.
Helpful? What gave you your clue?
Mrs. Jones will want to help.
Perfect. So that sentence right before compassionate, you can go back one sentence and the author gave you an inference clue to help you figure out what compassionate would mean.
I think it gave away with help.
But that's a good example, right? Now, sometimes an author won't use inference. Sometimes an author will use definition. So let's read that. Put them right here.
The word is defined in the sentence or text.
Have you ever seen that word definition before?
Yeah, but I forget what it means.
Where would you see a definition? I'm trying to think. Where would you see a definition of a word?
I forget what that means too.
Have you ever used a dictionary?
Oh yeah, I actually have one.
Yeah. So if you had a dictionary, you could look up. You could look up a word. You could look up a word, and like here's the word fable, and it tells us that a fable is a fictitious story with a moral,
Well, it's
often
fictitious.
with animals that talk.
Okay.
So that is the definition of a fable.
Then
So-
I like fables.
Let's take a look at what an example of a definition clue an author might give you.
Okay. Let's find how to play. Dramatic.
Oh, you're going to be dramatic? Okay.
Dramatic.
D for dramatic, Drew with definition. Read that example.
Andrew. Mrs. Jones is very caring or compassionate. She will help.
Ah, so compassionate's still our word, but the author worked in the definition. What is the definition of compassionate?
She cares and she's helpful.
She's caring, yep. She's very caring. So that gives us the definition right there in the sentence before. Or actually at the beginning of the sentence.
Sorry, I had to reread it.
No worries. So sometimes an author won't give you an inference or a definition, but an author might give you an example. What does it say under example?
There is this. Why did I crumble this?
Sorry, just put it right here.
There is an example of the word in the text.
Okay, so an example of the word in text. Let's look at an example of an example.
Mrs. Jones is so compassionate. She is always caring for others.
Oh, okay. So here, this one said, the author says, Mrs. Jones is so compassionate. And then that author probably said, maybe I should give them an example. Mrs. Jones is so compassionate. For example, she is always caring for others. So now...
Oh, so it's basically like a for example thing.
Yeah. Did
Yeah,
Mrs. Volkman have you do that when you were writing?
No, well, we did that with Mrs. Bogart.
Okay. Good. So you were training on how to give
we did
context clues
some.
with an example.
In the middle of the year.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So sometimes an author will give you an inference or a definition or an example, but sometimes that author might give you an antonym context clue.
I know what antonym means.
Read it for me.
A word with the opposite meaning is in the text.
How would that give you a clue? How is an antonym or an opposite, how is that a clue for what a tricky word might mean?
It might be an easier word to read and you might know that word better, and then you think of the opposite of that and there's another word for that, and then you think of that means the same thing as the other word.
Okay, let's see what the example is for the antonym context clue.
It's hard to talk fast like that and try to sound very smart.
You are very smart.
Okay. Some people are so rude. I wish they would be more compassionate like Mrs. Jones. Why is Mrs. Jones here?
Well, because Mrs. Jones is very compassionate. So where is the antonym clue in this purple section over here?
So,
What's the antonym of compassionate that we're looking for?
the antonym of compassionate is rude.
Oh.
Because it's highlighted in purple.
It is highlighted.
And bolded in purple.
Do you know anyone that's rude?
The bully.
Oh, a bully might be rude. You're right.
I'm not going to say his name.
Do you think that Mrs. Jones is rude?
No.
Well, the author
She's
says...
compassionate.
But the author says some people are so rude.
And then he transitions with, I wish they were more compassionate like Mrs. Jones.
So we have to figure out the author doesn't like it when people are rude. They want it to be the opposite.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Do you like it when people are rude? Oh, okay. Good.
No.
All right. So sometimes an author gives you an inference. Don't pull yet. Sometimes an author gives you an inference or a definition or an example or an antonym, but sometimes, just sometimes, they'll give you a
Cinnamon.
synonym. You're silly.
I didn't try to say that. It just comes out like that.
All right. What is a synonym?
A cinnamon.
Synonym.
Sorry. a word with the same meaning is in the text.
Right, synonym, same meaning. Mrs. Jones is here again.
Mrs. Jones is very caring, kind, and helpful, and compassionate.
Oh, okay, so
Compassionate means helpful, kind, and caring.
how many synonyms for compassionate are in that example?
1, 2, 3, 4 if you count the same word.
Well, is the same word, is it a synonym of itself?
No, so
No, it's just the word
3.
itself. So 3 synonyms, and that would be,
caring, kind, and helpful.
does that help you understand what the word compassionate means?
Yes.
Awesome. So now I have a task for you.
These 2 are help me. All of these help me do it. I think inference helps me the less, actually.
Okay, all right. But those are really good things to think about. So when you're reading and you come across words that might be
And
unfamiliar,
maybe if I'm trying to write a story, I can use these.
yeah, you probably could. So what I want you to do now is let's go back to the story about the bearded dragon that we were reading.
Should be a teacher name.
Mm-hmm. Can we focus real quick?
Yes.
Okay. So my request is that I want you to go back to the story that we were reading about the bearded dragons. What was that tricky word that you said that was kind of unfamiliar to you?
Require.
Okay, require. All right. So we're going to go back to not only that one, but let's look at the 5 words that the author bolded. And let's go back and see what the author did to give us a context clue. Did that author give us an inference or a definition or an example or an antonym or a synonym?
Or
context
any of
clue?
these.
Did that author do that?
Okay.
So let's look.
Imaginary?
Imaginary. Why don't you read and see where you think
Like this
it
area.
might be. Yeah, just read that area.
Like 2 sentences.
Yeah.
Have you always been told that dragons are imaginary? Well, the bearded dragon is quite real.
Oh, okay.
Ah.
So what strategy did the author use for imaginary there? Was it an inference?
Antonym.
An antonym?
Antonym.
What? Where's the antonym? Can you circle it for me? Ah.
Quite real.
Quite real. You circled quite real would be an antonym of imaginary. So if someone was reading and they figured out, or they didn't know what imaginary was, they might be able to figure out the meaning of the word because quite real is the opposite, correct?
Yes.
All right.
And most people know what quite real is.
Most people would. You're right. That's a good example.
Except if they're told.
Now,
Maybe.
what's your next word that's in that story?
It's excellent.
Excellent. Okay, so let's go ahead and read that and see if you can figure out what strategy the author might have used.
Can I read the first 2?
Sure.
The 2
Read as much as you want.
Okay. It's not really a dragon, though. It's not really a dragon, though. It is a lizard.
Okay.
And with the proper care, it can make an excellent pet.
Okay, with the proper care, it can make an excellent pet. Do we have a context clue there? Did we get an antonym this time?
No?
No, we didn't really get an antonym. Take a look at that and see if you can figure out what the author did.
An inference?
I think it's an inference. I think you're
It
right.
was either definition or inference.
Yeah, I don't see a definition in
I
there.
think it was inference.
I think it's an inference. I think you're right. Will you put an I right there next to excellent so that way we know that it was an inference clue?
Then.
We had to kind of figure that one
Should
out.
I put an A next to
That's a good idea. Put an A next to.
Well, I'm
first
putting
one.
it above in this
Yeah.
one.
Good.
Next one is required.
All right, so read along there and let's see if we can figure out what required would be.
I know what it means. I just don't see it much, and I don't I'm not good at pronouncing it.
Okay. Well, see, sometimes we even know them in our mind, and that might help us make an inference. But when we see them in print, it's a little bit trickier.
Yeah.
So let's go forward.
Well, I'm good.
Yeah, that's good.
So bearded dragons make great pets for animal lovers who lack the space and large reptile required.
Okay. Require. What do you think that means? Did the author give us a clue?
I know what it means. I just don't have.
Well, in your brain, what does it mean?
It means need.
Need. Good. That's really good. So you know that in your mind, right?
Yeah.
So, did the author really give us much of a clue on that one? Which strategy do you think the author used there? Was it an antonym, synonym, definition, example, inference?
Is it a definition?
Do you see a definition in there? Like you said, need would be the definition or synonym.
No.
I don't think so. I think you're right. So not a definition, probably not a synonym. Did you see an opposite word in there? For an antonym?
Might be an antonym.
I didn't notice one.
Oh, it's a synonym.
Where's the synonym? I don't see a synonym.
Lack and require.
Oh, okay. I can see that. That might help you make an inference, maybe.
Well, they're kind of the same.
They're related a little bit. I think this one's a little tricky. I would say this was probably an inference. We had to
I was
use.
trying to avoid ones that already happened.
Yeah, and sometimes it happens that way, sometimes it doesn't. So I would say this is probably an inference. And let me show you why I was thinking about that. Oh, no need to apologize. So look back another sentence or two.
Oh, I thought it was a long sentence, so I should look at
Sure.
one sentence.
But the author gives us some facts about iguanas and bearded dragons here. It says, most bearded dragons are friendly. They are usually calm and easy to handle. In fact, pet beardies, can you put your finger here for me so I can follow along? In fact, pet beardies, as they are sometimes called, enjoy being held. And they only grow up 16 to 20 inches in length. Iguanas, on the other hand, can be up to 6 feet long. So did they compare and contrast there?
Yeah.
So what's different about bearded dragons and iguanas?
Bearded dragons are much shorter, and they only grow like inches up. Well, I guess it's a bit more than a foot,
So,
like a foot to a foot and a half.
Knowing that iguanas are 6 feet long,
Yeah.
and bearded dragons are about 1 or 2 feet long, what does that tell you about the amount of space that they need?
That the bearded dragon only needs like 3 feet.
Right, its needs are different, right? Because they have different sizes.
And
So that
the
helps
iguana
us.
needs like 10 feet.
So that helps us make our inference. Some
Yeah.
of that background information.
And also, I did not want an iguana.
No, I would not
Roaming
want an
around the
iguana.
house, he'd be too small for for the top ball.
So I think we've successfully identified an antonym and 2 inferences. Let's take a look at our next. Let's take a look at our next one. You can skip this paragraph here and go on down to the next one.
An adult dragon.
Let's skip that one and go down to where it has the next word for you. Bearded dragons have.
Bearded dragons have a special diet. 2 of their favorite foods are crickets and beetle larvae called mealworms.
Okay, what strategy did the author use for mealworms?
They had a cinnamon.
A synonym.
I can't pronounce it today.
You could, yep, and circle what synonym it was.
Beetle larvae.
Beetle larvae, good. And you should mark it with what letter?
This was a
Synonym. Same. Synonym, same.
It would have been with a CI, not a.
Here, let's tap that. Let's chunk up the syllables on that.
Okay.
Sin,
O.
nim.
Nim. Synonym.
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 Very good.
Synonym.
Synonym, good.
Synonym.
So you said that the synonym was beetle larvae, right?
You said cinnamon.
I might have. So mealworms would be a synonym for beetle larvae, right? So it gave us something like that.
And
You could
beetle.
also, I would have accepted if you would have said definition.
Oh.
I would have said definition too. Sometimes definitions and synonyms are pretty much the same.
I knew it was a cinnamon. Cinnamon.
Mhm.
Synonym.
Yeah.
synonym. Sorry. I thought it was a synonym,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't really sound like a synonym.
Yeah.
But I just thought that it would probably be.
I would say either a synonym or a definition on that one. I would accept it. Either one is the correct answer.
I was feeling something else, but I didn't want to look up.
Yeah.
All
right.
I'm just.
We have one more word to do.
Yes.
One more.
Okay.
So
It's certain.
it is certain. Let's figure that one out.
Okay.
The word certain.
That may not sound very tasty to you, but a young dragon can eat up to 60 crickets a day. Most bearded dragons also eat certain green vegetables.
All right. So that said, most bearded dragons eat every vegetable.
No, certain.
Wait.
Certain doesn't mean every. It means different types.
Oh, okay. Well, what did you use? What did the author use here? Did the author give you an antonym or synonym or example or definition?
Was it infants?
I think it is an inference.
Okay, because
It's a
it
good
was
thing you
kind
kind
of
of
like
knew
this
some
one.
of that, right? So here's one thing that helped me figure this out too. If say you didn't know the word certain, right? What was the author talking about the bearded dragons eating in the sentences before? Was it talking about eating plants or something different?
Vegetables. Oh, wait, no. Mealworms.
It's talking about eating mealworms. What else was it talking about eating?
Crickets.
Crickets. Are any of those vegetables?
No.
No. So it went from insects and mealworms and things like that,
They're kind of the opposite.
and then it went into vegetables.
That's kind
And
of
then what is the word right after certain?
green.
Green vegetables. So it said most bearded dragons can also
Oh, I
Blue.
skipped that.
eat certain green vegetables. So right there it tells us not all vegetables, some green vegetables, specific green vegetables, right?
Can they eat green peppers?
We'd have to research and find out.
Probably not, because then they can't eat red or yellow peppers.
Maybe.
Or orange peppers.
Maybe spinach. Something like
Yeah.
that. So did you mark that one with the letter that you figured out it was? And ideas? I think we had 3 inferences. And what were the other strategies? We did an antonym, right? And
It
we
was
did
kind
a
of 2.
synonym. Okay.
Should I erase that?
No, just leave it there. Now here's my last thing I'm gonna have you do.
IA, not AI.
Here's my last thing I'm gonna have you do. I would like for you to take one of your inferences, like one of these 2, see if you can become the author, and add a synonym strategy for it.
How do I do that?
Let's take a look. Just
I
read the sentence with excellent in it.
This sentence? Excellent.
The sentence with excellent.
Okay.
And with the
proper care, it can make an excellent pet.
So imagine you're writing this for a younger kid, and they don't know what excellent means. Could you add another word, a synonym of excellent, to that sentence?
Do I have to put in between the word?
Maybe, have you ever just used like a little caret to like insert?
Okay. Where should I put it?
Well, let's
I'm
look.
thinking about the word awesome because
Oh, okay.
I know all kindergartners already know the word awesome.
Great, okay.
Because it's a popular word.
So this says, and with the proper care, it can make an excellent or
Awesome.
So now read your sentence the way you have it. Your new sentence.
And with the proper care, it can make an excellent or awesome pet.
Very good. Could you do the same thing with the required one?
Okay.
Where it says require? I would start by just reading that sentence.
So bearded dragons make great pets. It's for animal lovers who lack space that large reptiles require. Sorry.
Require.
I can't come up with it.
Now, imagine you're the author and you're making this, you're like, I should add a synonym strategy here.
Okay, maybe I should. Can I do it like the same way I did this?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm just going to erase the I and put it below so I can write.
Okay, I think that's a good idea.
Oh, I forgot. This is not on.
Oh. Your popcorn eraser.
Yes. Okay. So bearded dragons make great pets for animal lovers who lack the space that large reptiles require, or I'm putting the or there. Need.
Awesome. Don't forget your punctuation.
Sorry, I already had the punctuation there.
You're good. So you did a really great job of employing this strategy. Can you turn and look at the poster again for me? So just remember, when you come across a word that is unfamiliar to you or a little bit tricky and you don't know the meaning of it, I want you to think ideas. I don't have an idea of what this word means.
Can I keep this in my room?
We can keep it up here. Yeah.
Okay.
So go back to that word. If it's a book that you have that you could circle in, you could circle it. Or you could.
I don't want to do that because I might mix up a library book with that.
Or maybe you get a little sticky note and you put it right by it.
Yeah. And then
or maybe you could just write it down on a notebook, right?
Yeah.
And then you can go back and you can say, did the author give me an inference clue? Did the author give me the definition?
I'm going to look like Mrs. Jones will help.
Did the author give me an
example clue? We didn't use any of those.
Did the author give me an
antonym?
And did the author give me a
synonym?
Synonym, very good.
I'm getting
so that's what I want you to use. That's why we went over this today, okay? So when you get to a tricky word, think ideas and see if you can help figure it out. Okay?
It's so cool how they found out a word that actually matches what you're thinking.
That is pretty cool.
Ideas, you were thinking ideas, actually. You're always thinking this.
So do you find that helpful?
Ideas.
You find it helpful?
Yes.
Good.
Very helpful.
You did good work today.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I fist bump the camera?
You can. Say hi to Dr. Barrett.
Hi.